everyone. I'm excited about networking with everybody out there, and it's still hot. It's still hot, and guess what? It's going to stay hot. Unfortunately, this is the way it goes in Arizona. I'm excited about bringing on my first guest who's going to help with us with that. We're live on Facebook, so I do want to say hi to everybody out there. Like us and follow us. We're going to share the show later on. My first guest is Sam Friedberg, and he's of Solarize with Sam. Welcome to the show. First of all, Sam, you've been on my show once before, so welcome back. And I want to say there's something about Sam, you got to listen up. Because when we talk about solar, someone like you, who people are going to learn a little bit about right now, who understands the science and the numbers. Listen up, everybody. This is really important. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Sure. So I'm an independent solar consultant based in Chandler, but I serve clients throughout Arizona, mostly around the Phoenix area. And one thing that makes me a little different than just about everyone else who's in solar in this area is my background being in electrical engineering. I graduated from MIT, and then I went on to get a master's in electrical engineering from USC. And I'm able to use the logic and the engineering and understanding the science behind it for my clients' benefit, which is really my main goal. I don't work for a specific solar company, I work for my clients and their service.
It's pretty awesome. Now, I want to say this, when you listen up, everybody, because a lot of people, they'll come knocking on your door, or you'll get some information in the mail or whatever. Don't call people like that. When you can have somebody who's a graduate from MIT who can come and do what you would probably come in and do some kind of an assessment. How does that work?
Yeah, so when I come and do an assessment, I'm not walking in the door cold. So I like to make sure that I have a phone call with each potential client before I go to their house. I call it a discovery call. And first thing is to assess whether there's a good possibility that someone's house is going to be a good fit for solar, because not every house is. And if someone's house is not a good fit for solar, I'll let them know. I'll let them know why. If it seems that their house can be a good fit for solar, then I like to make sure that I come to someone's house prepared, having done my homework, usually a couple hours of homework, looking at all the details about their situation to really have a customized solution for them. But the ultimate solution is one that my clients and I come to together. So I will come with a draft, I will come having priced out options through multiple different solar installers. So I have solar install companies who compete with each other for me to use them for my clients' projects.
Well, in my opinion, I don't care if you've even thought about it, you've been on the fence with it, you're not sure. I think people really need to talk to you and have that what you call a discovery phone call, because listen up, everyone, this is very important. It's hot and it's October. We're still got our air conditioning on, and the bills just keep on going up and up and up.
And we're hearing more about that. Many people are saying that their bills are significantly higher than they were last year, higher than they ever were before. And yes, electricity rates have increased. Both APS and SRP continue to increase their rates. It has outpaced inflation in the last few years, the rate of electricity costs for people. And we're also seeing a general trend towards things getting hotter and more electric appliances and electricity being used in people's homes. So all that adds up to higher bills. And people are looking for solutions about what to do with it. A lot of folks realize intuitively, yes, in Arizona we have a lot of sunshine and the sun's going to hit my roof anyway. Is there a way for solar to work? And part of the hesitation that people have about that sometimes is just who else they've spoken to before, and just not being able to be comfortable feeling that that person was an expert and knowledgeable and caring in a way to actually find a solution that works for the homeowner. And sometimes there are solutions available that the typical solar door knocking guy isn't going to find.
No way.
Because most of their training is just in making sales. It's not in solution finding and how solar works.
Now, you can go onto his website, which is solarizewithsam.com. You can also schedule a discovery call right there. He does do free consultations. His phone number is 480-359-6843. I'm saying that there's been so many stories, and I know you have some, and we're gonna talk about some of those. There's a lot of myths when it comes to solar. A lot of people have had a bad taste in their mouth. Uh, People that hear stories and they say, well, I'm not gonna do that, and so they don't do it, but sometimes they're biting off their nose to spite their face.
Yes, and there have been some nationwide surveys that have been done, and I forget the name of which business publication, it might have been Fortune or Forbes. But it said that 90% of people who get solar are satisfied with it, are happy with it, and would recommend it. Now, in Arizona, the utilities that we have here, specifically APS and SRP, they just make it pretty complicated. It's not always simple to find the right solution for someone to get solar on their home. I met with a couple last week that told me that they had 10 different solar guys at their house give them proposals, give them quotes before. It never really made sense. They never really felt comfortable. There were some misconceptions that they had, or partial truths that they had about how SRP deals with solar. And all the questions that they had, I was able to show them how it really works, not just from talking about it out of thin air, but actually having the source and the reference material available to show and to clarify. And at the end, they said, you know, we've been looking to do this, we've wanted to do it for a while, but we weren't just gonna hop in blindly, and we weren't gonna hop in where the numbers didn't make sense, or the people speaking with us didn't have a solution for us that made sense. And I was glad that they saw that the solution that I was able to come up with for them did make sense. Very intelligent people, software engineer, had been trying to do his homework. He just didn't really know who else to talk to until we met.
Well, gosh, you know what, if I had somebody like you who's been a graduate from MIT, you know, who really does know the science and the numbers, this is something that would make you different. Plus, you've been doing this for a long time, helping people understand it. I think that's the first thing, is first of all, you said not every house is right for solar.
That's right.
What are some of the things that you take into account when it comes to starting with this? Listen up, everyone, this is so
Okay,
important.
so here's the first thing that I look at, is I look at the roof and where the roof is tilted, assuming it's a pitched roof. Is it facing in a direction that's gonna get a lot of sun? And generally speaking, roofs that face south are good, roofs that face west are good. Occasionally it can make sense to put a few panels on the east side of the roof, but you usually don't wanna put too many there. And very rarely do you wanna put panels facing north. And just the reason is you're not gonna get as much bang for your buck doing it that way. When roofs are facing south, facing west, facing southwest, that works very well. Want to make sure there's no tree shade. It drives me crazy when I drive up and down the street and I'll see homes with solar and I'll see them in the shade of trees. And that's not going to work, and I know that's not going to be a happy person with solar on their house. I would never do that. I make sure that I look at the shading on the roof. And also, we want to look at and understand the age of the roof, because you don't want to put solar on an old roof unless you're also going to get the roof replaced as well. And I'd say probably about a quarter of the projects that I do bundle together getting a new roof with solar. And once the solar goes on a roof, if the roof is already in good shape, the solar actually lends an element of protection to the roof from the elements and from the UV and from hail and things like that.
So we're gonna go to a break, we're gonna come back, we're gonna talk further. It's perfect timing, because let me say this, folks, you know, we're listening to this story, so important for you to hear these things that you probably haven't heard from anybody else. And what I love is the fact that you're being very transparent, and I think that's really important, because a lot of people think, they're just going to want to sell me all these, and that's not where you come from at all. Again, you can go onto his website. It's solarizewithsam.com. You could schedule a discovery call right there if you want. You can also call him. He does do free consultations. His phone number is 480-359-6843. We're going to go to a break. We'll come back. We're going to talk further. We're still live on Facebook in here, so we're gonna keep on going, okay?
Sounds good.
Yeah, and I know we're gonna come back and talk further about where you were right there, because I'm sure it doesn't just stop at the roof, right? But important to know, you know, obviously if somebody's got a tree that's in the way, but yay, I can get that tree out of the way easier than having to buy it and then be disappointed or never knowing that that was the reason.
Yeah, we can talk about trees, we can talk about people's electricity usage that I'm going to look at in detail. It's not just a matter of how much they're paying, but also how much of the energy they're using and when they're using it. Right, things like that.
Do you find that a lot of people call you when they've heard, like, you know, I don't know, I've just heard all of these horror stories, and then they call and say, wow, you know, that I never knew, I never realized.
I get quite a bit of that. I mean, it depends if it's somebody. Occasionally, people call me because they got solar on their house from somebody else and they have a problem. They want to know what I can do.
Can you help when that happens?
Yeah, that's not a great part of my business.
No, I understand, I understand.
But I can sometimes help. Sometimes it's a matter of what rate plan they're on, and they have no understanding of the rate plan they're on. They don't know why they're on it. They don't know what the plan is. All they know is it results in there being a bill that's higher than they thought.
But what's nice is when you do something for somebody else, it comes back to you some way.
It does, and I know a lot of that.
Yeah.
That's there for sure.
What's your favorite part about what you do?
It's a good question. I like the solution finding, and I like it when I'm able to work together with a client to find the solution that they were looking for but didn't know it was possible.
Yeah, I think that's important right there.
Didn't know it was possible and didn't realize that it could be done economically. Right. But people didn't realize it could be done economically.
Good. I think just those two are really important right there.
Does he give us a minute, Ethan?
No.
Okay. I'll put my
But I
headphones
gotcha.
on.
Are you looking to refinance or purchase a home and would like a better rate? Copper State Home Loans,
I mean, that's
a
the
local,
last
independently
commercial.
owned mortgage company, is your
Actually, there's probably one more.
Get your rate today.
But then there's
CopperStateHomeLoans.com for an
let me see if there's
instant rate
anything.
quote.
This is at the 15, so.
602-717-1264. That's CopperStateHomeLoans.com, 602-717-1264. NMLS number 1982090, Equal Housing Lender.
Everybody wants greater health, wealth, and happiness.
This guy that you listen to has been on my show for 16 years. This guy right here. A lot of it, well, no, he comes on twice a month, and then he does the ads and stuff like that.
Eliminate drug, alcohol, smoking, weight gain, stress, and depression. In Hit 91, make changing fast, fun. Call now, 602-547-0446 for a 1-hour consultation and motivational CD. It is priceless and life-changing. If it's
So welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Sam Friedberg, and he is of Solarize with Sam, and we're talking about solar and why that's so important, especially here in Arizona. But having someone like Sam, who is a graduate of MIT, I'm going to repeat that again because, you know, when you have these people that come knocking on your doors that represent other companies, they're just there to sell you. That's not your process at all.
Definitely not. My goal is really solution finding, and I do it from a perspective of making it as economical as possible for people in the way that the numbers have to make sense. And that's mostly what people are looking for, is how can we do this in a way where the numbers are going to work out for me, where the money's going to work out for me. And that's whether they're purchasing it with cash or with financing. Most of our clients still do it with financing, although it's a little bit greater percentage choosing cash these days, just because interest rates are a little bit higher than they've been. But there are plenty of people who finance just with the intention of paying it off in a couple of years, as opposed to just making monthly payments over the longer term for it. But the people come in with different financial philosophies about what they want to do with their money. And people want to know that if they're spending money on something, that there is going to be a good return for it. The return for solar that you get comes from the money that you avoid paying the utility company. That's really the goal, as well as a big fat tax credit for people who are filing and paying federal income tax. So some people may or may not be aware, but there is a 30% federal tax credit for getting solar on your house. It's solar and batteries, if you choose to get batteries with your solar as well. Many people are choosing that now because they like having protection in case there would be power outages and things like that. But if you're filing and paying federal income tax, then 30% of the cost of the solar project comes back to you dollar for dollar as a tax credit.
Now, each home is different, Each person lives in their home differently. One of the things that I had asked you is what is the process, and you do 2 hours worth of work before you even get to that person's home.
Usually, yeah.
And you sit down and we're talking, you said, Carol, you need to talk about, the person and how they use their electricity, how they use their appliances, right?
Absolutely. So first thing is the more money someone is spending on their electric bill, the greater potential for savings from solar, right? You can't save what you're not spending in the first place. But if your electric bills are fairly high, there's more room to be able to look for solutions to save money on that. The other thing I let people know is to do it economically, we really need to analyze your electricity usage in detail. And this goes with APS clients as well, but especially important for those who have SRP. Not just how much energy you're using, but when you're using it, what rate plan you're on now, if you're on a time of use based plan or not, what kinds of appliances you have, if you have one air conditioner in your home or multiple air conditioners in your home, if you have an electric water heater or a gas water heater, if someone has an electric vehicle or maybe looking to get an electric vehicle in the future. These are all things we take into account in terms of designing the system. And when I'll show up at someone's home, it'll typically be with an idea that's a rough draft within a range of how much solar to get. We'll look at options both including batteries or not including batteries, depending on the priorities of the client. So really the goal is to end up with a system that matches the homeowner's priorities, matches their usage, matches their goals with it and their understanding about it. I let people know that the most economical solar solutions typically are not going to result in someone having a zero electric bill. Because in order to get a zero electric bill, which is what most solar salespeople try to set people up for, you need to have a system that is so big and so expensive that you just lose the return on investment from that. But if you're going to aim to reduce the electric bill on average by, say, 50 to 80%, that can usually be done very cost effectively. You want to make sure that you're getting a very good bang for your buck for whatever money you are investing into your solar. And then the other side of it that I make sure to look at and talk about is whenever it may come time to sell your home, what do we do up front initially to make sure that you're going to be able to get the maximum value from your solar when it's time to sell? Because there should be a premium for homes with solar, but only if you do things right at the beginning.
So that's where you come in.
It's where I come in and I make sure that things are properly documented. So through Solarize, we have what's called Pearl Certification, which is an independent organization that's in partnership with the National Association of Realtors, the Appraisal Institute, Energy Star, and they're able to document the features of the solar that we're putting on the home and also prepare that for a future home sale. An appraiser is supposed to have an addendum that they fill out describing the solar that's on the house.
How many people even know this? This is what I love about my show. That's great.
Thank you. So not that many people know. And I understand some people intend to live in their homes for a very long time. Some people think they're going to sell their home at some point. And there is an equity play to it if you plan for that in advance, which is something I like to do because that factors into the overall return, the overall financial feasibility of getting solar.
So when you come in and you sit down with somebody, and I have to talk about this before I go there because it came into my mind because of how fast it can happen. I think for you it's really not necessarily trying to rush this thing as much as really trying to see let's see if this is right economically, can we do this right for you, that it makes sense for the client.
Absolutely, and I understand the sales tactics that a lot of solar guys do, and that's one of the reasons people sometimes are hesitant to meet someone in solar is because they're afraid of some kind of a hard sell. And my clients, they decide to move forward when they're ready to move forward. I don't have a sales closing trick in my bag, and I'm very, very comfortable meeting with someone and then having a follow-up Zoom meeting or follow-up phone calls. Some people meet me and they're ready right away. They already have done some of their homework. They already knew generally what they wanted to do, and as long as it made sense, they're ready. And that's lovely. I'm happy to help those people when they're ready as well. But others, I'll meet them and they'll end up making their decision within a few days or a week or a couple of weeks, some are months later.
Right.
Especially if their situation may be changing. I let people know, hey, if you're, temporarily out of work, make sure you're employed before you do this, because I don't want you to be in a situation where you get solar on your house and end up relocating, 2 months from now to another part of the country.
Right.
I don't want to get somebody into something unless I know it's going to be a benefit to them.
Before you came on, I did talk about something, and I'm going to bring it up because a lot of people right now are holding tight with everything that's going on. They're kind of scared. Do you think it's better for them to have that conversation with you now? Have a sit down. I mean, and again, we're going to get into our cooler months, and then people have it in their mind, well, I'll wait till it gets. No.
Good question. So there are a few things that timing-wise, if someone is curious about it, having a conversation now definitely can't hurt. If someone has concerns about timing as it relates to themselves or as it relates to the world, let's talk about what those are, because there are some things that are definitely not going to be changing no matter what happens in the election. There are some things that might. It's pretty unlikely that waiting is going to end up being financially better for anyone, regardless of who ends up winning in this next election.
And also just for the weather-wise, because now we are getting into our cooler months, and I'm thinking, phew, I get to, we have a little bit of a break, but now better time than ever.
Well, one thing financially going into this is related to the tax credit side of things, okay? So when a tax credit, you'll realize the return for that when you file your taxes for the year. So in order for someone to receive the tax credit on their 2024 tax return, the solar needs to be installed in 2024. If someone gets their solar installed in early 2025, they won't get the tax return until they file their 2025 taxes, which will be another year later in the spring of 2026.
Right.
So timing-wise, towards the end of the year, or having installs towards the end of the year is actually pretty common for people that want to get the tax benefit in their pocket as soon as possible.
Also, too, with the fact that it doesn't matter. No time is a better time than now, because in my opinion, you have that consultation. He's going to do a discovery call, because that's what it starts with. Let's find out whether your home is right for this, what you really need, and having somebody who's a graduate of an MIT. I mean, to me, I love when I listen to you, because you really put this together in a very different way than I've heard other people. And I just think that it's wonderful. Do not talk to the people that come to the door, that they're just not the right. You want somebody who's there on your side, and that's what Sam does. Again, you can check him out on his website. It's SolarizewithSam.com. You can also schedule a discovery call right there. Call him direct, write the number down. It's 480-359-6843.